Okay, so I have a trade plan update for you guys so you can see what I'm looking at. There's two parts to this update. I'm going to get them out the way so we can better focus on the chart itself. And I'm going to talk about something about Mara as well, even though I'm not going to go over it too much. But first part is I added another $10,000 to the BitU trade position that I showed yesterday. I'm going to explain to you guys why I added the 10,000, and it's up very little right now. It's up, it's in the green, it's in the money. But that opens up the second reason for this video, and that's the alternative scenario to sell a position earlier without accumulating as much as I originally want. Now it's just an alternative position, and everything I'm going to show you guys is my own personal opinion. So let's jump right into it. So overall, this trade, I want to add 70K to it, but this alternative, um, you know, trade structure that can potentially unfold right now, I'm gonna give you guys a few reasons on that as well. Could potentially cause me to sell a little earlier than I want to. With the position being smaller than I want to, it will still be profitable. It will still make me money, but um, I want to keep in mind the bigger picture scenario when it comes to psychology in the market, understanding FOMC is coming up next week, and how usually value structures tend to cause fake outs before they fill. And I'm going to explain all this in more detail. But first, the reason I added another 10,000 to the BitU trade today is I was keeping a close eye on, smaller picture fibs, retracements, simple resistance breakouts, and just how healthy the RSI is as well with the current volume. Because yesterday there wasn't a whole lot of volume in the market, but today we saw the price go up, and I don't, I haven't live streamed in a while, but I've been keeping very close eye on simple retracement tools within the structures themselves in the short term. So I was keeping an eye, seeing how likely it is for Bitcoin to maybe hold, show weakness in volume to potentially find a small picture micro top within this area before going over 118.4K. Instead, it broke over the smaller area, got very close to the swing high right here. So what I ended up doing was I took this as an opportunity within the next retracement to accumulate an additional $10,000 worth. Now, I am very much focused on position sizing. I am not one to, open any trades with money I'm not willing to just completely lose. So I don't really care how it plays out. I'm just more focused on the overall bigger picture value areas being filled and looking for signs indicating early signs that it won't be filled. But as of right now, with the 30K position slightly in profit, I added that additional 10K here. When I saw the price come down, it started holding. It didn't spend much time in this area, but it started holding support around that point 0.5 retracement. If you guys been watching for a while, you know how I feel about those point 0.5 retracements. So what I ended up doing was once the price finally broke out and it started showing signs that still supportive bullish momentum is holding in the smaller picture after the candle, reviving itself out of, or raising itself back out of the retracement, and the volume was still weak. Volume didn't pick up and then continue to drop the price lower. I took this as an opportunity to add more to this trade, with the idea that at least potentially throughout the rest of this week, because we're so close to the swing high and we have enough bullish momentum indicating that, I wouldn't be surprised if it tries to break this swing high. Now, I'm not looking for the all-time high to be broken just yet, but we do have some small picture signals within the structure. At least it tells me that it's very likely we could potentially have a bullish fake out prior to FOMC, with this swing high in mind as well, around 121,000. So what I'm looking for right now is, and here's the alternative scenario before I go over the original one or the original plan, is understanding, we bottomed out right here. So far, it's still holding above this swing high, which means, that's quite bullish, at least in the short term. We were trading below the 120 moving average for a bit. We broke out of it, and, we couldn't really hold below it. Instead, we broke over and continued to hold above the 120 moving average before the price broke this swing high going higher. It's consolidating. The RSI has not exhausted itself to any direction, top or bottom, it doesn't matter. So what I'm looking for right now is an opportunity to sell this position, even though it's not as big as I want it to be at the moment. And at the same time, this, of course, this area I just showed you guys right here is well below the 1.236 extension at 128,000. But here's the reasoning for this alternative scenario. Again, before I go over the smaller picture ones, I'm going to move this to the right to factor in current time. But basically, the idea here and this area is realistic in my opinion, because we know that Bitcoin, when there's uncertainty and there's anticipation for certain events, and we're trying to complete a overall retracement. So here's the overall retracement. It averages around 111, so 110 to 111k. That's the primary original plan, was to continue to accumulate this position like 10k at a time until it reaches the area, finish accumulating the $70,000 in BitU, and then just wait for the price to, pop back up. This will allow an overall, proper retracement to happen, because we were able to fill the purple one that I talked about so many times in previous videos. We finally ended up filling it. So now we're keeping track of the new move higher with this red area. But this is the original plan, right? To continue to accumulate until we reach this area, finish accumulating, and then ride the price up to roughly 108k or 128,000k. So, but we have this macro environment where there's like a mix between greed and fear. This can easily cause, we're already seeing signs of, this swing high was broken and we're still holding above this swing high. Smaller picture retracement, well, at least for the bullish correction, was broken, and then it held the supportive retracement, and now again we're holding above the 120 moving average, with the RSI not tired out to the upside just yet. So this is very realistic to at least keep an eye. And I don't really like to focus on small picture fib extensions because this is a lot of noise. It's not super reliable, but it does make a whole lot of sense, especially with the value. So we can potentially see price continue to go higher throughout this week. And ideally, I don't want this to happen, but if the price does and the volume starts to shrink, starts to weaken, here we can have like a very strong, mostly emotional market wave higher. Not super like textbook. This isn't super. It will make sense purely just on a structure fundamental point of view, but understanding the bigger picture macro and how a lot of things right now are influencing structures to break. Just personally, it's just my own opinion. I'm not really too sure how to explain it, but I'm looking for an alternative scenario where the price can go up higher, reach roughly 122,000. Potentially, it can even go up to 123, as you can see, but around, we'll say 122.5, around that area. I am looking to potentially sell this BitU position, lock in profit, so take that profit there, and then start looking signs for this potentially being a bullish fake out. And I'll once again look to accumulate the position fresh as it comes down and attempts to fill this area. If we do break this swing high, though, it will cause me to update the blue fib extension to the downside, which then will represent stronger potential support value, potentially averaging around 113k. It's we'll see when we get there. If it happens, I'll give you guys an update. But as of right now, again, I'm still looking for lower prices down into here to finish accumulating the trade. But if we continue to go up higher and we start entering this median area on this fib extension around 122k, then I'm looking to sell a position early, lock in my profit, and look for signs to accumulate the position once again once it makes sense. So I don't really think there's something wrong with taking profit when it makes sense. It's always good to position yourself for either direction. Ideally, I wanted to come down. It would drop the position value, but it will allow me to accumulate in a much more attractive buy area. But in the short term, if we do continue to see a fake out unfold, I would be looking personally to sell within this area, and I'll keep you guys updated. I'll show you guys the value and what profit I'm taking if it happens. And then from there, I'm looking to, open a new trade when it makes sense once again. But yeah, it's very possible. And I'm not too like upset about not being able to accumulate more deeper value, and we're seeing short-term signs of bullish momentum. It's fine because once I sell in this area, I'll make a profit. I'm not trying to be like perfect or greedy, but there's nothing wrong with locking in some money once the opportunity presents itself. If you're gonna get money, then just take it and then look to position yourself to take the next bag when it happens, right? So now when it comes to Mara, this can be a very, very similar setup, right? So I'm not gonna do any smaller picture fib extensions. It's not worth it. Because again, Mara isn't completely influenced by Bitcoin, but it does have a big factor into it. But there's a lot of other reasons I talked about in previous videos that cause the price to sometimes trade in a different direction. And I'll make a video. I'll make a detailed video on Mara soon. But basically, we're looking to continue to see the price come up into this area, potentially reaching $22.5 to $23. In my opinion. But before we go there, ideally we'll be looking to, find strong support within this area. I'll give more details on this potentially tomorrow, but we can see if Mara is influenced by Bitcoin, and if Bitcoin does have that fake out, we can see Mara once again break briefly over $20.70 potentially, creating a similar breakout, which in my opinion will be a bullish fake out. Bad time to buy. I think it's going to cause a lot of FOMO, but it will allow the price to start trade. I mean, we came down into the weak support. This is the first stages of support. It bounced off of 1870 really well, but if the price goes up higher due to Bitcoin having that fake out, we can see the price potentially enter the ranges of this extension area, the discounted ranges. This will then basically allow the price to test this area, show, just like we've seen many, many times in the past with Mara and Bitcoin with these extension levels, it shows that there is enough momentum, enough interest to allow the price to trade within the next fib extension. But then most commonly, I tend to see the price break below it, causing a lot of late buyers to sell, causing some fear. But then it will allow the price to come down into the overall retracement before it tests the area once again and much more aggressively. I'll go over this again potentially tomorrow and give more detail on it, and I'll probably show you guys like previous examples as well. But if anyone's been accumulating and we start to see this area get forced into, especially if we go to 21 to 21.5, I'll just in my opinion, I will believe it's a really good idea to keep an eye on volume and see if there's a potential top being formed. Because if it does form a top, just like we're looking at Bitcoin with the bullish fake out, I would not be surprised if we have a short-term aggressive sell-off into support before the price can potentially once again retest this area and max it out a bit more, kind of like we've seen here, right, where we have enough momentum to test the area. Aggressive short-term sell-off at this time. It's quite simple. Hold on. It came into support. As you can see, it topped out, came down, came into support before it can retest the area much more aggressively. It doesn't have to play out exactly like that, and the support can be broken into a bit more. But I'm just trying to say that if we do have a bullish fake out and it looks like it could potentially happen and we can come into this area, I personally will be locking in some profit and waiting for a new structure to present itself, especially prior to an FOMC meeting. Premium prices prior to an expected announcement is it's something I'm looking to sell instead of buying into. But yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Hopefully you enjoyed, and yeah, see ya.